Right, today I wanted to show you how I make my thumbnails because I actually think the thumbnail is one of the most important parts of the video because if the thumbnail's not good, it doesn't matter how good the video is, nobody's going to click on it. So I actually spend quite a lot of time on my thumbnails sometimes, and I sometimes completely remake them because a bad thumbnail will really just ruin the hopes of a video getting views. And I also actually quite enjoy making thumbnails. There's something quite satisfying about it. So today we need to make a thumbnail for my analysis of Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys. So what I'm going to start with, I've got the software here, this is basically a knockoff version of Photoshop. It's called GIMP, not the best name, and it's a free to use version of Photoshop. And what I'm going to do, I've got a blank thumbnail template already, and I'm going to start by finding an appropriate picture of either Brian Wilson or the Beach Boys, and that's going to be a key part of the thumbnail. Something I need to make sure I do is search for high resolution photos because for it to work in the thumbnail it really does need to be high res. And this is where I'm often looking for, I like it when I can find a picture a bit like this one where it's like a blank or like solid colour behind them. This one would be alright, although it's in black and white. That's because that makes it much easier to, that's alright, makes it much easier to sort of make it into a thumbnail because I can extend this background out into into like a complete solid colour. This one I actually really like, but I feel like it's too early in the Beach Boys' career. This video is about Good Vibrations, and that's kind of like a bit early in the career for that. You know what? I'm gonna browse for a while, and I'll speed this up, and then I'll let you know when I found one. Alright, so I found this one. I started searching for Brian Wilson rather than just the Beach Boys. This one looks pretty good. It's got the solid blue background. It's not particularly sharp, as you can see. It's a little bit blurry. And this sort of happens, some artists, particularly older artists, you just can't find a good high-res photo of them. Obviously there's the photos of him more recently, which are going to be higher res, but I don't really want that. I want one from when he was younger. That's an interesting photograph. Could use that one. Why is there all these photos of him topless in a fireman's hat? But anyway, I digress. I've lost my photo. I lost the one I wanted now. Here it is. Let's try this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it into the software and see if it's going to sort of work out really. Cool. So I think we can work with this. What I'm trying to decide now, next step I guess, is what side of the thumbnail I want him to be sat. So naturally, right now it looks like it should be that side. But I'm usually quite fond of the person being this side and the sort of the title and information being that side. So what I'm going to actually do, I think I can get away with this. Sorry, there's a plane going by outside if you can hear that. And I forgot to close the window. Does that make him look weird now it's reflected? I don't think it does. I think it's just because we're used to seeing it the other way around. Or I'm not sure actually. Let's look at some other photos of him. I think it's the parting of his hair, isn't it? That's what's making it look kind of unbalanced. Maybe I do make a thumbnail with it on this side. I've never done it before, but I could. Let's do it because I just don't think it looks very natural the other way. Okay, so keep him on screen for a minute. What I'm going to do is, actually I'm going to let him be slightly cropped off because I'm going to need a fair amount of space over here for the other information. Now what I need to do is make this blue spread out across the whole frame. So I'm going to start by just grabbing part of it, copying it, so it's on its own layer, and then I'm just going to stretch it out so it covers the whole thing. Put it behind Brian. Now obviously right now it looks a little bit naff, but what I'm going to do is duplicate that, if I can remember how, there it is. And then this duplicate I'm going to blur so we don't get that awkward texture anymore. And then I'm going to combine those two. And if I start erasing a bit of the original with Brian, I can kind of get rid of the seam you can see between where the extended blue is and the original blue. Up here is a little bit more awkward because the shade changes, but I've got the eraser tool set on kind of a softer gauge, so it doesn't completely erase what the original Brian thing. It just sort of leaves it sort of transparent, taking a bit too much away from there. But as we can see, because the photo wasn't supremely good resolution in the first place, we have got this grain around him, so it's actually kind of nice to lose a bit of that. You can see it there, and along here. Cool, so what I'll probably do before I go any further is just try and make Brian look as good as possible. I'm going to use levels, which is a way of sort of making it brighter and sort of bolder at the same time. This control brings out the lights, the whites and that. And you actually can already see that makes quite a big difference. If I turn it off again, see how dull it was before. And this brings out the blacks, which will give us a bit more contrast, make him stand out even more. So it really gives it the whole thing a bit more definition. And because he looks a little bit blurry, I'm going to sharpen him a bit. And I don't want to go too over the top of that. That's actually gone in straight away and done quite a lot. And the reason I don't want to do too much is it starts making it look grainy, but just a bit. You can see that's without, that's with. It just once again adds definition. And the final thing I'm going to do, he looks quite orange. And I think he could maybe do with looking a little bit bluer. Not sure actually, now I'm doing it. If I compare, I think I prefer that. It's not making a world of difference really. I could just lean into the orangeness. I think that looks alright. Let's stick with that. Okay. Cool. So we've got Brian. Now what I want is I'm going to put a line of sheet music across here. Sort of a small excerpt from Good Vibrations there. And up here, I'm going to have, it'll probably just say Good Vibrations. So let's start by putting Good Vibrations in there, because that's, that is not the right font. That is easy to do. Now, as you probably have noticed before, I almost always use the same font in my thumbnails and in my videos. And it's this Barnes Schrift, or Schrift, which I don't know, maybe I'm not pronouncing that right. And basically, this is, I believe, the font that's used on the Autobahn in Germany, their motorway, hence Bahn. But the reason I have it is because I think it was once used in a Radiohead album cover, and I was sort of trying to recreate the album cover for a different thumbnail, so I downloaded this font, and ever since I've just used it because I think it looks really nice. I think it's just the perfect blend of simple but with some character. So what I'm going to make the letters be a bit closer to each other. And let's get our Good Vibrations. Also going to make sure the two words are closer to each other. And put it up here. Right, so I might adjust that later, but let's just leave that there for now. So what I need to do now is get that bit of sheet music. So I already have a transcription of the song because I'm using that in the video, but I just need to go into MuseScore and grab the bit I need. So I've got the sheet music here, and basically I need to make it look good for a thumbnail. Obviously normally I'm thinking about sheet music in terms of either good for a performer or good for my video, but now I'm going basically for the aesthetic, so it doesn't matter if it's not 100% legible, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to make it all a bit bigger. That's it. And to make sure this pops out when it's on the thumbnail, I'm actually going to make the stave lines a little bit thicker, which is obviously something I would very rarely ever actually do if I was making this for someone to read, but I'm not making it for someone to read. Now I just need to remember where it is. I think it's here. Stave line thickness. Let's put it up to... Yeah, so you can see it's actually quite hard to tell, but these lines look a lot thicker now than they normally would. Now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of the note heads and rests, because once they're in the thumbnail, I want them to be able to be a different colour than the rest. And then the final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in as much as I can so I can get the highest resolution print screen, because that's literally all I'm doing here. I've got a tool here called ScreenPresso, which just lets you print screen segments of the screen at a time. So that's grabbed that, and oh look, there's a Patreon there. Wonder if he's watching. And all I'm going to do is just drag that into our Photoshop. Well, not Photoshop, but I can dream. So now, what you may have noticed actually is I often have it actually inverted. So rather than black lines on a stave, I want white lines. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to grab the background colour. Oops, I need to add the transparency first. There we are. So we've got rid of the background. Now I'm going to invert the whole thing, so it's white rather than black. And this is where I'm going to work out where on the page it's going to be. And this might involve a little bit of trial and error. I'm wondering now whether I want Brian much further to the left now that I've got the sheet music in here. If I put them over like this, yeah, I think this is probably a good idea actually. Okay, so obviously it's still, this is still much longer than we need it. I'm wondering whether it's, yeah, I think I need to change how this looks a little bit. I think I need to make it more condensed. So let's do that. Let's think what the easiest way to do that is. If I add another bar in, it kind of pushes it all together naturally. If I make that bar bigger, yeah, it really starts to push it together. That's probably the best thing to do. Also, if I just see, this is tied together here because when you write sheet music, you're not meant to put a beat over the center of the bar. It's like a little rule, makes it easier to read. But because no one's going to be reading it, I could just do that, and it suddenly looks a bit nicer. Same here, actually. Let's do that there. And lose that guy off the end. Alright, yeah, I think this is all helping. Let's get it as squished as possible, really, because I think we're going to need that. Don't worry about how the lyrics are all messed up right now, because I'm going to rewrite the lyrics in anyway once we get into Photoshop. Oops. Give it a bit more space so it doesn't look so chaotic. Alright, cool. I might actually abandon that rest as well as it's on the end. Let's try this. So once again, I'm going to select everything so it's blue. So it pops out a bit more from the stave. I'm going to leave the rest this time. I don't think I want the rest. And let's print screen. Okay, so once again, we're going to ditch the background. I once again forgot to add transparency. Let's invert it. Right, this is starting to look a lot better. So, I don't want those to be orange. I don't think I want them to be orange. It kind of matches this jacket. Do I want them to be orange? It gives it kind of a sun vibe. I'll leave the colours for the minute. I might actually go in the orange direction. But what I'll do first of all is just neaten things up a bit. And get the lyrics back in there as well. So one thing I'm going to do down here is I'm planning on this disappearing behind Brian's back. So to do that, I'm just going to extend a segment of the stave well beyond him. Put it down here. And then that sort of naturally allows that to happen. And what I'll do later on when I'm happy with the placement is I'll raise everything above his coat so it looks like it's behind him. For the sake of the treble clef, it would kind of be nice if it was up here, but is this going to make everything else look a bit awkward? I think it is. I think the treble clef just needs to go behind him. And I reckon Good Vibrations is going to be bigger. Let's make it bigger now so we get a better idea of the final product. That's too big. Getting there. I think Good Vibrations needs to come in tighter. Oops, wrong way. A bit like that. Right, let's put these lyrics in here. For now, I can just do them in black. And they need to be a lot smaller than that. Smaller than that. So I'm just going to write in our lyrics. Good, 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 good. Oops. Trying to get the hyphen in the right place. Bray. Okay, that should do for that. As you can see, they're kind of too close really right now, so let's go down. Okay, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make the note heads and the font all the same color, and not only a color but a gradient. So to do that, I'm actually going to grab the existing color that they are. That'll be one half of the gradient. And for the other half of the gradient, I'm actually going to grab one of the colors from his jacket there. We'll see how this works out. So what I need to do first basically is take this color stuff, like these, and make that a separate layer so I can separately control it. So now it's separate now. And same with this font. So we're going to make this the same layer. So now that's all one thing. And then if we select it all like that and use the gradient tool, the gradient naturally will create a blend of the two colors we've chosen here. And now it's sort of a bit of a trial and error to see what makes it look good. I think although it was kind of a cool idea to get his coat, I don't think it actually looks very good. I think we could do more with choosing our own color there. Yeah, it's already looking better. So yeah, like I said earlier, I was trying to get rid of the orangeness of his skin and the photo in general. It's got like a bit of an orange hue to the photo, but actually now I'm finding myself leading into that, and I quite like this combination of the light blue and the orange. Because something else I try and do is I try and make all my thumbnails look relatively different, particularly recent thumbnails. So I want people to glance at it and realise it's a new video, not an old video. So I try and do a different colour scheme that I've not done recently, and I don't think I've done this recently. Cool, so I'm going to leave that for now. Let's sort out this, what's going on here. This might require a bit of trial and error, but let's find out. It's very soft right now, the eraser, so let's make that stronger eraser. That will do, I guess. That's a bit concerning. Why are those lines? Oh, okay. So this is what's happened. I've separated out the colours, and actually some of the colour is now on a different layer, but that's gone now. Just one of the things that happens with Photoshop is you kind of just lose track of stuff, and then you got all these weird little artifacts on your image, although at least I do. I'm sure professional people who are using Photoshop know how to use layers properly. But I'm more of a bodger when it comes to this sort of stuff. Which you can tell from the fact that I'm not even actually using real Photoshop, I'm using the fake free one, even though I use this software every week for my job. I really probably should should invest in the real one. I don't really like I've never hidden the treble clef behind someone before. I often have the sheet music go behind them, but that just looks a bit unnatural. So what I'm going to do instead is, well, first of all, I'm undoing all of that. I'm going to drag all of this a bit closer. So if I cut that like that, I can then pull it closer. And maybe if we just shuffle everything up a little bit, I think we can afford to lose some more space there. So what I'm doing here is I've basically cut that bit off. And the beauty of sheet music is the stave is all perfect parallel lines, so I can just move it along like this, and it looks like it was always that way. So we're very close to having it all beyond Brian. I think we've got this. Just need to find a bit more space without it looking unnatural. Let's go here. Yeah, we're almost there, aren't we? Yeah, that's 3 of them now. Just zoom out a bit and make sure it doesn't look awful. I think that looks good. Maybe just, it's hard to say. Maybe just the oh god, I'm doing the wrong thing now. I accidentally just moved, yeah, I've moved Brian by accident. See, like I was saying, I'm bodging this. Let's go back a bit. And then maybe just the treble clef, maybe the treble clef can be a bit there. That'll do, let's just do that. So reconnecting it all, so it's all one thing again. Now before I commit, let's experiment with shifting the whole thing that way a little bit. That looks pretty good. Alright, let's erase this again, now that we've kind of decided on its final location. Say final location very optimistically. This easily could be just the first draft of the thumbnail. But I'm quite happy with the direction this one's going in for, right now. Often I make these and I then come back the next day and think actually that's completely wrong. So we'll see how we get on. What is that little artifact I've just spotted? That's left over from what we did ages ago. So I'm just going to cover that up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a bit more detail to the background. And all I'm going to do for that is use a very light brush to add a bit of hue, a bit of colour to the background. Sort of like that, but less intense. So I'm really going to turn the sort of, no, why not turn the spacing down? That's what I want. Hardness and the force. There it is. Now you can see a bit of blue coming through. You see that? And what I usually do is put a bit too much in and then sort of fade it out a bit to taste. Although right now I do actually quite like how that looks, but let's just fade it out a little bit. And I usually stack up a few layers like this just to give it a bit more complexity when it comes to how the background looks. I'm actually going to, well, I'm going to put this layer on top of the whole thing, so it's going to go on top of Brian as well. But it kind of means he'll appear a bit more blended in to the image. Once again, let's blend that out a bit. So you can see if I turn it off now, at the bottom there, it just blends everything in a bit more. And do a similar thing at the top, but with a light shade. That's too much. So a layer like that makes it look like there's actually light, sort of a source of light coming down. I might have overdone it a bit though. Because there's already the shadow here on him, I think I should probably lean into that a bit more. I'm actually going to put a layer of black down here, like a shadow. I'm starting to wonder whether it's a bit lopsided, whether it should all be brought to the left a bit. I think it should. So what I'm going to do is connect all of the layers so they move together, and basically just move the whole thing this way. So I've only moved it by a tiny amount there, but I think that helps. And as I said, I'm going to cover this up by basically selecting some of this blue, making a copy of it. This is much like what we did right at the beginning. Dragging it over, just enough to cover what we're doing. Do we need to do much more with this? I still feel like this could be a bit more potent. Probably could do with underlines, that's what I think. So what I often do on some of these videos is, some of these thumbnails even, is underline the title, and that means that this colour scheme can be extended up here a bit. What I'm going to do for that, I'm going to grab this yellow, to find out what layer it's on so I can grab it. There it is. And there's probably far more effective ways of doing this than the way I'm about to show you, but what I do is I just draw a little box and then I colour it in, and that creates the line like that. Right, and now that I've got my line, I'm going to thin it out a bit like that. I'm going to move it away from the word just a tiny bit, and then I'm going to duplicate it so I can send it up here. The reason I duplicate it is to make sure it's the exact same thickness as the other one. But this one I'm going to trim to size. I think that's good. I can never decide whether to have some overlap, or especially with, you know, this straight edge here of the D, whether to make it perfectly in line. I've gone for a bit of overlap there. And then this is a different challenge, because do you go with that line or do you kind of taper it here? How are you going to do that? Taper it. Same down here. Oops, wrong there. That's all right, I've already tapered that naturally. Yeah, I think that improves it. Makes the words good vibrations sort of pop out a little bit more. Just going to adjust the lines a little bit. Yeah, I think I like that. What I might do is just experiment with these colours. All the coloured assets are in one layer, which means if I play around with the colour, they'll all change together, which means they'll still match. So on this control I can change the hue, which is basically the colour they are. So I might lean into yellow a bit more, to yellowish orange. And on saturation here, it brings out the vibrancy of the colour. They're already quite saturated, so it's not really making a world of difference. I think that's better though. I think that blends more with him, and it makes it all pop a bit more. What I might do is also go on levels. This is the tool we used earlier to make Brian look a bit bolder. Because I can also, if I do it really extreme, you can see what's happening here. It gives us an opportunity to make this all stick out a bit more. So that's a fairly subtle change, but it's very slightly bringing out. It's certainly making it more yellow. I'm not sure if I want it to be that yellow. So that's kind of preferring a golden colour really. like that. It looks pretty good so far. I'm just thinking whether or not I want a bit more shadow going on to blend stuff a bit more. So I'm just going to go back to a point where I'm make a new layer for this. Just going to experiment adding a bit more shadow. Very trial and error. At this point, it's like I don't know how to make it better. I don't know what it needs. But I think we're very close to it being done. It's just, this shadow looks a bit awkward, doesn't it? Because it's like from the original image, it kind of doesn't blend with my shadow as much. So if I really go in for that, put this on another layer so I can taper it back if I want to. It's going to really kind of extend the shadow that was already there. I'm not going to leave it this extreme. Now I'm going to sort of taper it off there like that. But that means, just so, I don't know, it looks like a bit more like it's, is that good? I think it's still a bit too much, isn't it? I think I really need to tone that back. I think it just needs a little boost like that. That's good. What else do we want? I feel like it just needs a little bit more something, like a bit more to blend the different elements together. Got another layer again so I can, thinking about doing that so I can then really taper that back. But it kind of makes it connect a bit, maybe? So it makes it like he's in the same space to a certain extent. I don't know. I think that's looking pretty good. I think we're getting to the realm of I need to look at it with fresh eyes. That's the next step. But I think all in all, it looks, the placement I really think looks good. Yeah, okay. So let's do the last step, which is basically when I make a new layer. I basically send the entire image to a layer, so that you can't see a difference here, but right now we have the entire image on a layer. And the reason I do that is so I can then, with the final product, go once more to things like levels and just see if there's any global sort of holistic changes I want to make to really make it pop a bit more. I think the thing is it's already, the colours are already pretty much where they need to be. I don't think I need to do much. I think it's one of those things where it's already good. Let's just compare that with what I had. So that's slightly bold. I'm wondering now whether Brian looks too dark. I'll drag this back a bit. So you probably can't really see any difference there because it's a very subtle change, but I think that's good. I think that's cool. All right, let's save that. What I'll do basically is I'll leave this video here, and you'll know if I made any further changes because you'll see the uploaded video. But yeah, hopefully that gives you a bit of insight into how I make these things. It's become a fairly sort of procedural thing nowadays. I've got a few different designs I do, and it's, you know, with each video I just decide what sort of vibe I want to go with. But yeah, thanks for watching.